Whether ancient Egypt and its pharaohs were black or not? That's the question everyone is finding answers to, but no one has reached a conclusion. No one can say this with certainty that ancient Egypt and Egyptians were not black and did not have black roots. Yet people around the world have unconsciously assumed that ancient Egypt could never be black. This misconception is mainly due to Hollywood movies that try to show ancient Egyptians as white, which is totally ridiculous. But most people don't challenge this because they think black people do not exist in Egypt today. However, what if we say there is an entire city in Egypt that is black and has a history that dates back to ancient Egypt? Welcome to a new episode of Black African Diary, a channel where we talk about Black African history, culture, arts, and civilization. It's a place where you will see the real picture of Black Africa, its stories, and the events defining it. In this episode, we will show you the black side of Egypt they don't want you to know. Let's get started. The black side of Egypt is the city of Aswan, a land where you will find native black Egyptians who have been living there for centuries. They did not settle in after ancient Egypt. Rather, they existed even before Egyptian civilization rose to power. The city of Aswan, nestled along the eastern bank of the majestic Nile River, offers a charming setting that acts as both a scenic location and a vital lifeline for the local community. Traditional Egyptian sailboats, known as feluccas, elegantly traverse the river's waters, providing leisurely cruises and breathtaking views of the surrounding landscape. One of Aswan's most iconic landmarks is the Aswan High Dam, a testament to modern engineering prowess constructed in the 1960s. This remarkable structure not only regulates the flow of the Nile, preventing flooding and facilitating irrigation for agriculture, but also generates hydroelectric power, significantly contributing to Egypt's energy requirements. A short boat ride from the dam leads to the captivating island of Philae, home to the awe-inspiring Philae Temple complex. Dedicated to the revered goddess Isis, this ancient temple enchants visitors with its well-preserved reliefs, grand arcades, and towering towers, offering a captivating insight into the religious customs of ancient Egypt. Aswan is also famed for its vibrant Nubian villages, where visitors can immerse themselves in the rich culture and hospitality of the Nubian people, who are native black Egyptians. These villages showcase distinctive Nubian architecture, characterized by colorful houses adorned with elaborate geometric designs. Locals warmly welcome guests into their homes, inviting them to indulge in traditional cuisine and share captivating stories of their heritage. Nestled amidst the Nile's waters, Elephantine Island serves as an archaeological treasure trove, housing ruins dating back to ancient Egyptian times. Exploring the remnants of temples, fortresses, and residential quarters provides invaluable insights into the island's historical significance as a strategic military and trade hub. In the northern outskirts of Aswan lies the unfinished obelisk, a monumental stone structure offering a fascinating glimpse into ancient Egyptian stone carving techniques. Believed to have been abandoned due to a flaw in the granite, the partially carved obelisk offers intriguing insights into ancient quarrying processes. For those seeking shopping adventures and unique souvenirs, Aswan's bustling bazaar entices with its vibrant collection of handicrafts, textiles, spices, and trinkets. Bargaining is customary, allowing visitors to fully immerse themselves in the lively atmosphere while exploring the narrow alleyways and vibrant market stalls. Situated on the banks of the Nile, the Nubian Museum stands as a beacon of Nubian heritage, offering a comprehensive journey through Nubian history, culture, and art. Exhibits showcasing artifacts, sculptures, and artworks spanning millennia provide invaluable insights into the enduring legacy of the Nubian people. But what about the black people who live in modern-day Aswan? The black native Egyptians living in Aswan are Nubians, an indigenous ethnic group of the Nilo-Saharan region, spanning northern Sudan and southern Egypt. They can trace their lineage back to the earliest inhabitants of the central Nile Valley, recognized as one of the earliest cradles of civilization. By visiting the city of Aswan and the villages in it, we find the native black Egyptians who have preserved their culture and history. Nubians in Aswan typically live in close-knit communities along the Nile River, particularly on the Elephantine and Sahel Islands. These communities often consist of extended families, fostering strong social bonds and a shared sense of identity. Traditional Nubian houses, referred to as Nubian domes or beehive houses, are made using locally available materials such as mud bricks, palm leaves, and river stones. Designed to withstand the region's hot climate, these houses feature thick walls for insulation and domed roofs for natural ventilation, adorned with rich colors and complex patterns reflecting Nubian cultural motifs. Agriculture and fishing have historically been the main occupations for Nubians in Aswan. Many families still farm along the fertile Nile banks, cultivating crops like wheat, maize, and vegetables. Fishing also remains a crucial economic activity, with Nubian fishermen employing traditional methods passed down through generations. Nubians in Aswan cherish rich cultural traditions, including music, dance, and storytelling. Music plays a central role in social gatherings and celebrations, with traditional instruments like the tambourine, drum, and flute being prominent. Dance forms such as the Nubian dabka are showcased during weddings and festivals, fostering communal joy and unity. Social gatherings often revolve around communal meals, where Nubian cuisine takes precedence. Characterized by locally sourced ingredients and aromatic spices, Nubian dishes are shared among family and friends. Tea ceremonies featuring sweet, mint-infused tea provide opportunities for conversation and bonding. Religious observance is fundamental to the lives of most Nubians in Aswan, with Islam being the predominant faith. Mosques serve as centers for prayer and social interaction, with Friday prayers being significant communal events. Gatherings, feasts, and acts of charity mark Islamic festivals like Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. The popularity of Aswan as a tourist destination has led to increased interaction between Nubian communities and visitors. Some Nubians engage in small-scale tourism-related activities, offering cultural experiences such as traditional Nubian meals, music performances, and guided tours of Nubian villages. This interaction plays a role in preserving and promoting Nubian heritage and traditions. What's more, Aswan's cityscape offers an enchanting mix of ancient Nubian architectural styles, blending seamlessly with modern urban development. Positioned along the Nile River, the city pulses with clusters of traditional Nubian homes, distinguished by their signature dome-shaped roofs. A stroll through Aswan reveals traditional Nubian dwellings intermingled with contemporary structures. The residents of Aswan, primarily Nubian, infuse the city with their colorful attire and welcoming spirit. Nubian men and women can be spotted in traditional dress that pays homage to their cultural roots. Women adorn themselves in brightly patterned dresses, embroidered and complemented by rich headscarves, while men opt for loose-fitting galabiyas paired with woven turbans or head wraps. Daily life in Aswan revolves around the Nile River, with many locals engaged in traditional activities like fishing and farming. Along the riverbanks, fishermen cast their nets, hoping for a bountiful catch to sustain their families, while farmers tend to lush fields, cultivating crops such as dates, maize, and sugarcane under the blazing Egyptian sun. The city's bustling markets offer a glimpse into daily life, teeming with vendors selling fresh produce, fragrant spices, and handicrafts, while the scent of local delicacies fills the air. As the day unfolds, Aswan resounds with the rhythmic sounds of traditional Nubian music and dance. Musicians gather in the streets, mesmerizing passers-by with melodic tunes played on instruments like the tambourine, drum, and flute, while dancers showcase the energetic Nubian dabki, captivating onlookers with their lively performances. Evenings in Aswan are a time for communal bonding and relaxation. Families come together for shared meals, enjoying traditional Nubian dishes such as ful medams, which is stewed fava beans, kushari, which is a mixture of rice, lentils, and pasta, and tamaya. The city's cafes and tea houses buzz with activity as locals and tourists gather to savor sweet mint tea, engaging in lively conversations and laughter well into the night. Nubian hospitality permeates Aswan, welcoming visitors and inviting them to immerse themselves in the city's rich cultural heritage. Tourists have the opportunity to explore Nubian customs through guided tours of local villages, interactive cultural experiences, and indulging in authentic Nubian cuisine. Nubians residing in Egypt, despite their location, exhibit significant similarities with Black Africans living elsewhere on the continent. In terms of appearance, Nubians often share common features with other Black Africans, such as deep skin tones, textured hair, and distinctive facial characteristics. Culturally, Nubians maintain practices, ceremonies, and social gatherings that resonate with those observed by other Black African groups. Festivals, music, dance, and communal events are integral to their cultural expression, promoting traditions similar to those found across the continent. Furthermore, the preservation of linguistic heritage within the Afro-Asiatic language family underscores their connection to broader African linguistic traditions. Historically, Nubians, like many Black African societies, have faced challenges such as colonization and marginalization. Their experiences echo broader narratives of resilience and resistance in asserting cultural identity amidst external pressures. These shared historical parallels contribute to a collective narrative of struggle and perseverance within the broader context of African history. While Nubians constitute a distinct community within Egypt, they contribute to the diverse display of Black African cultures. Their unique languages, customs, and historical narratives originating from Nubia enrich the broader African cultural mosaic. Despite residing in different regions, Nubians share a sense of solidarity with Black Africans across the continent, fostering a collective identity that transcends national borders. When Black Africans visit Aswan, where Nubians reside, the experience often evokes a profound sense of familiarity and connection, like reuniting with long-lost relatives. Despite the passage of thousands of years, Nubians and Black Africans' undeniable similarities include various aspects, including physical features, cultural practices, linguistic ties, and historical experiences. Nubians have been in Egypt for thousands of years, with historical records showing their settlement along the Nile River dating back to around 6,000 to 3,150 BCE during the pre-dynastic period. The interaction between Nubians and ancient Egyptians dates back to the early civilizations thriving along the Nile. Nubia served as a crucial trade link between Egypt and regions further south, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural practices. This interaction resulted in periods of both peaceful coexistence and conflict between the two civilizations. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black Africa. Let's continue now. Throughout the Pharaonic era, Nubia experienced intermittent rule by Egyptian pharaohs, especially during the Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom periods. Egyptian influence in Nubia extended through military campaigns, trade, and the establishment of administrative centers. Over time, the relationship between Nubians and Egyptians evolved, with Nubians adopting elements of Egyptian culture such as language, religion, and architectural styles, while maintaining their unique identity. Nubian kingdoms emerged alongside Egyptian dynasties, contributing to the diverse tapestry of ancient African civilizations. During the Greco-Roman period, Nubia became a significant ally and trading partner of Egypt. The Kingdom of Kush, centered in Nubia, held political and cultural influence over Egypt, with Nubian rulers even reigning as pharaohs. Pia Pianki stands out among these rulers, founding the 25th dynasty and uniting Egypt and Nubia under his rule. Following the decline of ancient Egyptian civilization, Nubia thrived as an independent kingdom, with its capital at Meroe. Nubian civilization flourished during this period, characterized by impressive architectural feats, bustling trade networks, and a rich cultural heritage. The integration of Nubians into Egyptian society continued through subsequent historical periods, including the Islamic conquest of Egypt in the 7th century CE and subsequent Ottoman rule. Nubians played significant roles in various aspects of Egyptian society, including trade, agriculture, and military service. Neolithic settlements dating back to 7000 BC have been unearthed in central Nubia, with Wadi Halfa believed to be the oldest settlement in the central Nile Valley. At different periods, parts of Nubia, notably Lower Nubia, were integrated into ancient pharaonic Egypt or rival states like Meroe or the Kingdom of Kush. During the 25th dynasty, Nubia was united with Egypt, but control later reverted to native rulers during the 26th dynasty. Historically, Nubians were celebrated for their expertise with the bow and arrow. In medieval times, they embraced Christianity, establishing 3 kingdoms, Nobatia, Makuria, and Alodia. Later, they adopted Islam during the Islamization of the Sudan region. Today, Nubians in Egypt mainly reside in southern regions, particularly in Kom Ombo and Nasser al-Nuba, north of Aswan, as well as in major cities like Cairo. Sudanese Nubians primarily inhabit northern Sudan, particularly the area between Wadi Halfa and Al-Daba. However, due to the construction of the High Dam in Egypt, which submerged their ancestral lands, some Nubians were relocated to Qashm el-Ghurba and New Halfa. Additionally, there are groups with Nubian ancestry, like the Midob in northern Darfur, the Burgid in central Darfur, and various hill Nubian communities in northern Kordofan and the Nuba Mountains, although their Nubian lineage is debated. From north to south, the primary Nubian groups include the Kenzi, Fadicha, Sukkot, Mahas, and Danagla. The prehistoric roots of Nubia can be traced back to around 300,000 years ago, during the Paleolithic era. By roughly 6000 BC, the region's inhabitants had established an agricultural society. With time, they adopted the Egyptian hieroglyphic writing system. Archaeological discoveries suggest that human settlements existed in Nubia as far back as the late Pleistocene era, and from the 5th millennium BC onwards. In contrast, evidence of human presence in the Egyptian Nile Valley during these periods is scarce or non-existent. This means that people lived in Nubia even before Egypt was established, strengthening the argument that Black Egyptians predated the civilization of Egypt. Many scholars argue that the African origins of Egyptian civilization can be traced back to pastoral communities that emerged in both the Egyptian and Sudanese regions of the Nile Valley in the 5th millennium BCE. Biological anthropological studies have revealed significant biological similarities between pre-dynastic southern Egyptians and early Nubian populations. Frank Yurko noted that depictions of pharaonic iconography, such as royal crowns and Horus falcons, were predominantly found in Upper Egyptian Naqada culture and A-group Lower Nubia. He also suggested that Egyptian writing originated in Naqadan Upper Egypt and A-group Lower Nubia, challenging claims of Mesopotamian influence. In 2023, Christopher Ehret reported that archaeological, linguistic, biological, anthropological, and genetic evidence indicated ancient Egypt's founding locales were descended from long-standing populations in northeastern Africa, including Egypt, Nubia, and the northern Horn of Africa. This means that Black Africans were the ancestors of ancient Egyptians. However, the linguistic origins of early Nubian cultures remain uncertain. Some studies suggest that during the C group and Kerma cultures, inhabitants spoke languages from the Berber and Cushitic branches, respectively, of the Afro-Asiatic family. Recent research proposes that the Kerma culture spoke Nilo-Saharan languages of the Eastern Sudanic branch, while the C group culture to the north spoke Cushitic languages. They were later succeeded by the first Nubian language speakers, whose languages belonged to another branch of Eastern Sudanic languages within the Nilo-Saharan phylum. A 4th century victory stela commemorating Aksumite King Izana mentions two distinct population groups in ancient Nubia, a red population and a black population. Although Egypt and Nubia share pre-dynastic and pharaonic history, their trajectories diverged with the decline of ancient Egypt and Alexander the Great's conquest of Egypt in 332 BC. At this point, the area between the 1st and 6th cataracts of the Nile became known as Nubia. Egypt experienced a series of conquests, initially falling under Persian domination and becoming known as the satrapy, or province of Mudria. 200 years later, control passed to the Greeks and then the Romans. Amidst these changes, the Kushites founded the Kingdom of Meroe, led by legendary rulers known as Candaces or queens. According to legend, a Candace of Meroe allegedly forced Alexander the Great to retreat with a formidable army of elephants. Historical accounts suggest that the Nubians defeated the Roman Emperor Augustus Caesar, securing a beneficial peace treaty for Meroe. Additionally, Meroe prevailed over the Persians, and later, Christian Nubia successfully repelled Arab invasions on 3 occasions, resulting in the 600-year peace treaty of Bakht, the longest-lasting treaty in history. However, Christian Nubia eventually fell in the early 1500s, leading to complete Islamization and reunification with Egypt under the Ottoman Empire, the Muhammad Ali dynasty, and British colonial rule. After Sudan gained independence from Egypt in 1956, Nubia and its people became divided between southern Egypt and northern Sudan. Nubia consisted of 4 regions with diverse agricultural practices and landscapes. The Nile River and its valley in the north and central parts enabled irrigation-based farming. Western Sudan saw a combination of peasant agriculture and nomadism, while Eastern Sudan primarily practiced nomadism, with some areas of irrigation and agriculture. The fertile pastoral region in the south was home to Nubia's larger agricultural communities. Governed by kings controlling the gold mines, Nubia facilitated trade in exotic goods, such as ivory and animal skins with Egypt. In terms of language, modern Nubians use Nubian languages, which belong to the Eastern Sudanic branch of the Nilo-Saharan phylum. The classification of ancient Nubian languages remains uncertain. Some suggest Cushitic languages were spoken in Lower Nubia, while others propose Eastern Sudanic languages were spoken in Upper and Central Nubia. The Kerma peoples are believed to have spoken Nilo-Saharan languages, potentially ancestral to the Meroitic language. The relationship of the Meroitic language to language families is debated, with suggestions ranging from Afro-Asiatic to Eastern Sudanic within the Nilo-Saharan family. The modern-day descendants of the ancient Nubians still inhabit the general area that was once known as Ancient Nubia, now commonly referred to as Old Nubia, mainly found in present-day Egypt and Sudan. After the construction of the Aswan High Dam on the Nile in the 1960s, approximately 50,000 Nubians were relocated from Wadi Halfa in North Sudan to Kasham el-Girba in Sudan, with some also moving to southern Egypt due to the flooding of their ancestral lands. Nowadays, most Nubians work in urban centers across Egypt and Sudan. While traditionally, Arabic was predominantly learned by Nubian men who traveled for employment, there's been a growing trend of Nubian women learning Arabic, facilitated by access to education, radio, and television, leading to more women joining the workforce. Regarding cultural expression, Nubians have fostered a collective identity celebrated through poetry, literature, music, and oral traditions. In modern Sudan, distinct Nubian groups, such as the Danagla around Dongola Reach, the Mahas from the Third Cataract to Wadi Halfa, and the Sikurta around Aswan, have preserved their unique writing systems and cultural customs like scarification. Nevertheless, a generational shift away from these traditions has been observed among younger members. The ancient cultural landscape of Nubia was significantly influenced by its geographical layout, often divided into Upper Nubia and Lower Nubia. Upper Nubia was the heartland of the ancient kingdom of the Kush, whereas Lower Nubia acted as a crucial conduit for cultural interchange between Nubians, Egyptians, Greeks, Assyrians, Romans, and Arabs, and served as the seat of the kingdom of Meroe. Major urban centers in ancient Nubia, such as Kerma, Napata, and Meroe, flourished because of the region's fertile agricultural lands. Egyptian rulers of antiquity sought to control Nubia's resources, particularly its gold and its pivotal trade routes. Despite periods of Egyptian dominance, the rise of the kingdom of Meroe in the 8th century BC marked a significant shift in power dynamics, with Nubian rulers exerting influence over Egypt for a century while concurrently preserving many Egyptian cultural practices. Renowned for their scholarly pursuits in support of the arts, Nubian kings played a vital role in safeguarding and reviving Egyptian cultural heritage. In today's society, Nubians practice the Islamic faith, incorporating elements of traditional folk beliefs. Historically, their religious customs were a blend of traditional practices and those of ancient Egypt, with Christianity prevalent among many Nubians before the emergence of Islam. Islam arrived in Nubia in the 8th century, peacefully coexisting with Christianity, largely due to the presence of Arab merchants. Over time, Nubians gradually embraced Islam, starting with the upper class. Sufi preachers, who settled in Nubia from the late 14th century onwards, played a significant role in spreading the Islamic faith. By the 16th century, the majority of Nubians had converted to Islam. The ancient city of Napata held immense religious significance in Nubia, especially due to Gebel Barkal, a massive sandstone hill resembling a rearing cobra, revered by both Egyptians and Nubians as the abode of the ancient deity Amun. Nubian rulers were interred near Gebel Barkal in pyramids akin to those of Egyptian pharaohs, a tradition that endured for over 2,500 years. Modern Sudanese Nubian architecture stands out, characterized by expansive courtyards surrounded by tall walls and elaborately adorned gates overlooking the Nile. The brightly colored stucco often features familial symbols or popular motifs like geometric patterns, palm trees, or the protective evil eye. Genetic studies provide intriguing insights about Egyptian and Nubian roots. The resemblance between Nubian and Egyptian populations suggests mutual migration along the Nile River Valley. Nubians share genetic affinities with West Eurasian ancestry, such as Sudanese Arabs and Afro-Asiatic-speaking communities in the region. Genetic analysis also indicates substantial intermingling within Nubian populations, with significant gene flow from Eurasian and East African sources. Recent excavations and genetic research in northern Nubia revealed diverse genetic compositions among communities, reflecting varied ancestral and socioeconomic backgrounds. Interestingly, Nilotic populations in South Sudan remained relatively isolated, with minimal gene flow from Eurasians, West African Bantu-speaking farmers, or neighboring groups. In contrast, Nubians and Arabs in the northern regions show genetic blending from Western Eurasian populations, highlighting the intricate genetic heritage of northeastern Africa. So, does all that mean that Egypt was once black? Well, Ivan Hannaford's extensive 1996 work, Race: The History of an Idea in the West, aimed to provide the first comprehensive account of racial concepts. After scrutinizing writings spanning 2,500 years, Hannaford concluded that the contemporary concept of race, which implies humans are inherently grouped based on physical characteristics, is a relatively recent development. Hannaford argues against attributing contemporary racism to ancient texts, suggesting that the ancient Greeks used a political framework to distinguish citizens from barbarians, while the medieval period relied on religious distinctions. He posits that these ideas were not firmly conceptualized until the 19th century, with the period from 1870 to 1914 being the pinnacle of racial ideology. Historical evidence gleaned from Egyptian texts, artworks, and mummies indicates that ancient Egypt boasted considerable ethnic diversity, resisting classification within a single racial group. It's essential to note that the modern concept of skin color distinctions did not apply in ancient Egypt. Instead, individuals identified themselves based on their regional ties. Scholarly investigations suggest a range of skin tones existed across Egypt, including what we now categorize as white, brown, and black. However, this remains a topic of significant debate, with many proposing variations in skin tones among different regions of Egypt, including Lower Egypt, Upper Egypt, and Nubia. Given the extensive existence of ancient Egyptians spanning approximately 3,000 years, it's highly plausible that ethnic shifts occurred over this extensive period. Evidence supports the presence of black ancient Egyptians, a contention endorsed by certain historians, archaeologists, and writers, arguing that sub-Saharan Africans predominantly inhabited ancient Egypt. They emphasize that ancient Egyptians referred to Egypt and the entire African continent as Kemet, meaning the land of the black people. Some scholars even suggest a direct ancestral link between all black people and ancient Egypt. Well-documented records highlight notable black ancient Egyptians. One such figure is the influential nobleman Myherpri, who lived during the reign of Thutmose IV and was interred in the Valley of the Kings upon his death. Depictions of him in illustrated manuscripts and his mummified remains suggest a darker complexion compared to more widely circulated images of Egyptians, leading scholars to speculate about his Nubian lineage. Queen Ahmose Nefertari is frequently depicted as black, with contemporary Egyptologist Sigrid Hodel Hones suggesting that her skin color was revered due to its resemblance to the color of both the fertile earth and the netherworld and death. Additionally, Lady Rai, a lady-in-waiting to Queen Nefertari, is believed to have been black, as evidenced by the remarkably well-preserved condition of her mummy, revealing dark skin and braided hair. Today, Nubians live in Egypt, which strengthens the fact that Egypt was once black, and that Egyptians have black roots. Unlike what the West likes to portray, ancient and modern-day Egypt is more similar to Black Africa. It's not just similar, they are the same race. What do you think? Were the ancient Egyptians and pharaohs black? Isn't it true that the presence of native black Egyptians in modern-day Egypt proves that Egypt was once entirely black? In the comments section right below, share your thoughts on why the West wants to prove that Egypt was never black. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on Black Africa, its history, rich arts and culture, and things the world should know about. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.